Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityor ma amrutam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. May the Divine lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Oh, peace, peace, peace.
Gurvashtakam. The little meaning of this hymn goes like this. Your body may be beautiful and so also your spouse. Your fame may be extended everywhere and your wealth the mountain high. But if your mind be not attached to the Guru's lotus feet, so what then? So what then? So what then? Shariram surupam sadarugamuttam yashasayuchitram dhanam nirutulyam gururam nipati manasthena lagnam tatakim tatakim kalantram dhanam putra pautradi sarvam griham bandhava sarvamitaadi jatam guru तदा किं तदा किं तदा किं तदा किं यशो मे गतं भिक्षुपाण प्रतापा जगद्वस्तु सर्वं करेय प्रसादात् गुरोरां कृपात्मे मनश्चेन नाग्नं तदा किं 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 न भोगे न योगे न वाजिनीधे न कान्ता सुखे नैव वित्तेषु चित्तं गुरोरां कृपात्मे मनश्चेन नाग्नं तदा किं 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 तदा किं.
I'm reading from the book Sri Ramakrishna and His Divine Play, translated by Swami Chaitanya. The chapter's name is Gadadhar's Boyhood. Gadadhar had a highly developed interest in religion, but he did not have much use for book learning. Observing that pundits and teachers with advanced degrees had cravings for money and worldly enjoyments, he did not see any value in having an education like theirs. Gadadhar came to this conclusion by using his keen insight first to ascertain the motive behind people's actions and then to evaluate their behavior against the standard of his father's renunciation, devotion, truthfulness, ethical conduct, and righteousness. Thus, judging the values that people lived by, Gadadhar was amazed at seeing how almost everyone in the world had different motives. Moreover, he was saddened when he saw people constantly suffering because they accepted the unreal world as real. It is no wonder that after observing the miseries of worldly life, he resolved to conduct his own life differently. At this, the reader may ask if it is possible for a boy of 11 or 12 to have such subtle insight and power of discrimination. The answer is that, although this may not be true in the case for ordinary boys, Gadadhar was not ordinary. He was born with extraordinary talents, a retentive memory, and spiritual tendencies. Although he was young, it's not surprising that he developed such attributes. Regardless of what people may think about it in the interest of truth, we must narrate all the facts that we have gathered in our investigation. Although Gadadhar was gradually losing interest in traditional education, he went to school regularly and became adept in writing and in reading books written in Bengali, his mother tongue. When he read the Ramayana, the Mahabharata and the other scriptures, his devotion and his melodious voice would hold the audience spellbound. The simple, uneducated villagers were eager to hear him recite those religious stories, and Gadadhar was always willing to make them happy. Sitanath Pain, Madhuyugi, and others would invite Gadadhar to their houses, and men and women would listen with devotion as he recited the stories of Prahlada, Dhruva, and other epic tales from the Mahabharata and Ramayana. In the Kamarpukur area, in addition to Ramayana and Mahabharata, one also finds lively stories of local gods and goddesses written by village poets in simple verse. Occasionally, Gadadhar heard the story of how Tarakeshwar Shiva revealed himself, a musical narrative describing the Divine Mother Yogodhya, or the story of Madan Mohan Krishna of Vishnupur, or many other stories of gods and goddesses, and how they revealed themselves to monks and devotees. With the help of his prodigious memory, Gadadhar memorized these stories and musical compositions after hearing them only once. Sometimes he copied them if they were available in manuscript or printed form. While investigating the Kamarpukur house, we came across Gadadhar's handwritten manuscript of Ramakrishnayana and musical compositions on Yogodhya and Shubhahu. Undoubtedly, whenever requested, Gadadhar would read or recite these stories from memory many times for the simple villagers. Yes.
Now a short period of meditation. Today's topic is be a good listener. This topic, in a superficial sense, has no meaning for our devotees. They are excellent listeners. Whether it is puja or it is a talk on Sundays or guest speakers coming, whether interesting or less interesting or not interesting, our devotees, our congregation is excellent in being a very good person and excellent listeners. So why there is no need to say to you about in the superficial sense. But what does it mean to be a listener from a spiritual perspective? Our whole life is learning, experience. Swami Vivekananda said, this world is like a gymnasium where you are to make yourself strong, fearless. Our every experience should lead us towards strength. Strength in body, mind and spirit. He said, the moment you fear, you are nobody. Sri Ramakrishna said, learning should not stop throughout our life. We are living so long we are learning. Otherwise if you don't learn, stop learning, you stop remaining a student, you just become like a useless person, like a dead person. So learning is to continue throughout our life. The very beginning of learning is listening. Listening leads to knowledge. It is said, listening is equal to learning. In fact, the Vedas, the very word Vedas means knowledge. Its another name is Shruti. One, what is heard, what is listened. So listening is equal to knowledge. Human evolution is important part of human evolution that we have come to this part is communication. How we interact, how we communicate, and the knowledge, the language that has come, that is a very important part in our developing our thought process. Language, thought, learning, listening, speaking. These all have come together to make us human beings, so evolved a being in this our planet. So this communication involves expressing, listening, thinking, and acting. All these are very important to us as a human being. So, how to be a good listener? If it is so important for our life, for learning, for remaining alive itself as a human being. So, it is said that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we need to use them proportionately. Listen more than what you speak, in general sense. There are people who are meant to speak, those who are full of knowledge. If Socrates says, I will only listen, I will not speak, or Sri Ramakrishna doesn't speak, then it will be difficult. For us sadhakas, for us who are striving to have spiritual knowledge, or striving to make ourselves a better person in every sense. So our role is more of listening about others, from others, gaining knowledge and trying to share others' problems, others' difficulties through our mode of listening, than bragging about our own selves. I achieved this, I attained this. More than saying about ourselves, describing ourselves, we need to talk, we need to listen more about others. That makes us a better human being. And when we start listening, what we need to listen? Really to listen from other person, just you, when somebody is talking to you, wants to speak to you, and you have to listen. What you need is eyes. What you need is attentive mind. What you need is open heart, and of course ears. So why is eyes so important to listen? There was one joke that one person was experimenting on cockroach. And there was cockroach, and the cockroach on the table, his experimental table, and that person cut the one leg of the cockroach and said, move. And the cockroach, somehow it moved with 5 legs. It has 6 legs, Then he cut 2 legs and said, move. Then it was difficult with 4 legs for cockroach to move, but it dragged itself. Finally, it cut all the legs and said, move. Then cockroach didn't move. Then person came to conclusion that When all the legs of cockroaches are removed, it cannot hear. So, this is a joke, of course, like that. So, to listen to someone, we need to have our eyes open, eye contact with the person. It means to listen to someone, we have to have a love for that person, a fellow human being, a friend, or someone who has come to you to tell about himself or herself or something's a problem. So, or any joy or any sad incident. So, best we can do is we can give some time to listen to that person with all empathy. So, have the eye contact with the person that you are listening. Don't divert yourself. That's why you need good eyes to look at the person, eye contact. And the mind should be fully given to the person when that person is speaking. Don't think of something else. 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you have to have that much of patience to listen to that person, otherwise you will not be a good listener. Have patience to listen. And you have to listen with an open heart, with all the feeling about that person's joy or sorrow, or incident, or communication, or friendliness, anything that person wants to say. And that way we can become a good listener, and good listener makes you a good friend. It's so important to listen about others. There is one story, it may be a true story, that one person was polishing shoes, and he asked the shoe man, so how your life goes? And he started telling about his difficulties and problems with his poverty and less earning. It was the story of India. So, and finally when the shoe was polished, it did very well, and he told his story in the meantime. And that person gave him like 10 rupees as fee for polishing. He says, "Thank you, sir, I don't want to take any money from you." He said, "Why? You did so much hard work for 5 minutes, you polished my shoes." He said, I'm so happy today to be with you and you listen to my story. People come and they often ask me, how are your days going on? I start speaking 1 or 2 sentences, then they jump up and they start saying their own stories and they never listen to me. It's the first time that someone has fully listened to what I want to say, I want to express. And I feel so happy to tell about me, to communicate about me something. To let other people speak about them itself is a great service. What you can do or not, that is another thing. Just let them speak what they want to speak and listen with open mind, open heart and attentive mind. We will not be able to listen only with ears. We can only hear and it will produce no result of listening. We need all these. Being listened is so close to being loved that most people cannot tell the difference, said David Oxberger. When you listen nicely, it is as good as having tremendous love for that person. In fact, if you don't have love or a little empathy for the person, you will not be able to listen. And this we should have for every person. Not that you love someone and you have just love for another person. You have to have that quality of empathy for every human being. After all, every human being is our brethren. So to have a good quality of listening, we need empathy. Tremendous fellow feeling for the person. For what that person wants to speak, and you need to spend some time to listen to that and really to understand. So listening is just not only hearing through the ear, and it's listening with great empathy and with great respect for the person. Whether he's small, he is not of your category, of a different category, whatever the person is, there should be respect towards the person when that person is speaking. So respectfulness is very important. And listening is to understand. When you listen, you try to understand what that person is saying. Some people say, most people do not listen with the intent to understand. They listen with the intent to reply. And that is a bad type of listening. We need to listen to understand the person. What you speak, is not very important. You listen with sympathy, with fellow feeling, trying to understand with lot of love towards that person, and that creates the real result of good listening. That makes the real sense. Listening is, they say, when you listen, your whole being should be focused on the speaker and his message, what he's going to say. Your whole body should listen. Not that only a part, mind, somewhat going, not that. Your whole thing should be focused to the listening, and only then it has its effect, impact on the communication of listening and doing. Sri Ramakrishna, how he used to listen? One day one person came, his son had died, a great bereavement. And he started telling about him, how he feels bad, he was crying, full of tears. Then Sri Ramakrishna listened to his story. And he didn't say that, this world is unreal and why do we weep and everything is born, has to die. No big lectures on Vedanta to him. He just listened to it. And then he, after listening, let him tell fully, then how he replied to him. Then he didn't say anything to him. He said his own feeling. He said, I also felt so sad when my nephew had died. He told that. And he said, first I felt as Vedanta, what is death? It's Atma goes and merges with the divine Atma. It's never dying. It's all from going from unreal to the real. If there is mukti. So there is no death. I felt that way. But the next day, I felt as if my heart was being wrung like a wet towel. So much of my pain I felt. Sri Ramakrishna was a man of highest wisdom, highest understanding, had all realized soul. From him to hear that he also had suffered because of the death of his nephew in such a high degree was itself a great solace to that person. That there is a lot of feeling. People suffer. My suffering is nothing. There are people who die. The story, you know, that in Buddha's life, one lady comes to Buddha, my only son had died. One widow came, in fact. Young son had died. Buddha also didn't give her any lecture. She just said, you have to make him back to life. That was the woman's request. Buddha was a great, renowned person, as a holy person. And Buddha didn't say anything about nirvana or unreality of the world or ever-changing reality of this creation. Didn't say. He said, okay, I will try. Can you bring, I need something to make him alive. Can you bring some mustard seeds from a house where nobody is ever dead? So she said, yes, I will try. And for this, she was ready to do anything. She goes from house to house in the village. Do you have mustard seeds? She says, yes, I can give you. Has anyone of your person died any time? Some said, my grandfather died. Some said, my father died. Some said, my mother died. Everyone has someone that died. Then she realized, this death is inevitable. Some die, Then after doing whole days of research and all of suffering comes a wise person back to Buddha and says, Lord, I am peaceful. I understand the nature of the world. So that's how the great persons teach. Don't just give the answer the reality. What can they accept? So Sri Ramakrishna also didn't say anything, but told his own story of his suffering, of his Vedanta, and how this even Vedanta was overpowered the next day by the emotions of losing his nephew. He was not his son. Sri Ramakrishna was a man who had understood the unreality of the world. World is like a dream, like a changing thing. It lives today, dies tomorrow. It's every moment, everything changing. But he has to suffer so much, and this was a great solace. You see, this is the art of communication, listening and speaking. Holy Mother was in Jairambati, and one lady came with a lot of luggage, a lot of things that was ordered to bring. And he brought vegetables and all those grocery from faraway place, from the town, from the shop in the other village. So then Holy Mother asked, your son used to bring, he was quite a young man, like 22 years, why you have brought today? Then the lady started shedding tears and said, that young son, only son, has passed away. So it was a great thing for that lady. Now how was Holy Mother communicate to this lady who is full of sadness, of bereavement, of losing the only son, young earning son, who supported her? So now what happened? Holy Mother herself felt so much pain of the losing of son by this elderly poor woman that Holy Mother started crying. This lady is also crying. Holy Mother also crying. After some time, people started saying, what happened? Holy Mother was crying as intensely as this lady was crying who had lost her son. Holy Mother also, as if she lost her own son, she was crying. And that was such a solace for this lady that she said, after that she became quiet, peaceful, and went back home, very with light heart. This is how listening the thing with empathy and love for the person. There has to be a lot of love in the real good listening towards the other person, and to be very empathetic for that person. How this good listening helps. Another example I told you earlier in another Sunday service. Swami Ranganathananda ji was the vice president at the time, and before that he was president of Delhi many years ago. When he was in charge of the secretary of Delhi, head of the Delhi center, our Ramakrishna Mission Center in Delhi, there used to come a small little girl, and he used to play with Swamiji, and small girl which was so happy in the ashram. She grew up, was a brilliant student, became a medical doctor, and then with the girl becoming a doctor and get married, and a lot of problems in life. Everyone has problems. She had a lot of problems in life, though she achieved so many things of her dreams of to become a doctor and good position, honored profession in India or anywhere else. But with these problems, it was very difficult to handle those problems of life. So when Swami Ranganathananda came with all her associations, she came to meet him, and she said, Swamiji, I want an interview with you and want to talk about me to you. She went to his room, and she started talking, quite all the way crying about her own problems in life and suffering in life. Swami Ranganathananda didn't speak a word. She spoke continuously for 45 minutes to 1 hour, all told about sad stories, difficult stories of problems in life, suffering in life. After she finished her saying her story, Swami Ranganathananda said, from this moment, all your problems are gone. Just he said that. And that lady comes out of his room, really feels she is full of peace. All her heaviness of the heart is gone. She has become light. Only listening. Of course, it was listened by a very holy man, a very high order, who could absorb the problems and sufferings of others spiritually, but to see it physically, it was just listening attentively, empathetically, with love and with understanding. That absorbed everything of that problems of that woman, and she came out. How this good listening helps in others' life. How we really listen. Listening is of two types. One is from external sources, and for this sound, of course, is very important factor to listen. When sound comes, then we have to use our mind and heart just through sounds. And this is one type of listening. Without sound also we listen. Through sight, we can listen from seeing the eyes of other person. You seem to be sad, you seem to be weak, you have some problem. Just by seeing the eyes, if you are trained to see the look of a person. So that also we listen, hey, I have a problem, I am not happy today, or I am very jubilated today. You can find anything by looking the eyes, the sight. Face is a great expresser, great speaker. Face, somebody told, my son had become very small face, you know that. It's some problem. My son had very small face. And that face told a lot of story that her son's mouth didn't speak. So like that face is a great speaker. We see through behavior. Through behavior, of course, we can understand how a lot of behavior speaks. And we also listen through holy company. When we go and be in holy company of some person who is really full of love, full of purity, full of kindness. That type of person, if you go in their presence, then you start listening without his speaking. I heard about Swami, in fact, Asheshananda ji, he was Holy Mother's disciple. So, people used to go and sit near him, and sit with him for some time, and then just come out. Some little reading of gospel or something was there. But the main thing was, he didn't explain the gospel and nothing, just reading. They sat for some time, they come out. And they find themselves so full of peace, so full of joy. And this story was told me to a boy of 16 or 18 years youth. He had that experience of peacefulness by being in the presence of this Swami, Holy Mother's direct disciple, Swami Asheshananda. You see how this holy company, from that we can listen so much. Just the company, just the presence. If we have trained ourselves, we listen a lot of teachings and a lot of things from them. This is from the external sources. Then there is listening to the inner voice. You see, you don't have anyone, but still you start listening. Thinking is a kind of listening. When you think, in fact, you hear. You hear your own mind going deep into thinking. Contemplation or nididhyasana is listening into depth. In fact, spiritual knowledge that is sought, according to Vedanta, has 3 steps by which you become spiritual. Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Listening or hearing, contemplating and meditating or meditating. So, Sravana is, you hear the truths from the scriptures. And then on those truths, like the whole world is God. Like these truths. Sarvam khalu idam brahma. Then what you do, after listening to that, then you try to cogitate on that. That's called manana. You ponder on that. How can the world be God? The world changes, world is created, world dies. How can this world be God? Then you cogitate. If it is not God, from whom it came? Who created the world? Oh, God created. From what God created this world? There is nothing else other than God. God is the ultimate reality. So God must have created the world from Himself, because there is nothing else other than God. So what is created from God has to be God. So in that way, everything is God. But why don't I see God? Oh, there is some defect, mistake in my vision, error in my vision and perception, that I don't see God, but I see so many evils here. I see so many devil here. In fact, everything is God. I should change my way of thinking, my way of perception, and perhaps I will do. Then you could come to the conclusion that this world really is Brahman, is that ultimate reality. Only the thing I see is changing, dying, created. But in essence, it is that unchanging reality. It looks changing, it seems changing, but it's unchanging reality. When you have done manana, cogitation, thinking, pondering on that, then you start contemplating and trying to convince that yes, go deep thinking. That is called nididhyasana. Deep thinking, and think on this God become many form God. One God becoming many form, from unity becoming diversity, or seeming as diversity. And that you listen to your own inner voice, and that listening makes you wise, and that's called nididhyasana. When we pray to God, prayer, or you often praise God for what He gives to you, or you ask God to give you something. It can be your material gains, it can be your spiritual qualities, you can be fearlessness, whatever it said, you are asked, Lord, give me this. May I not be afraid of this world, or may I be good to everyone, may I be able to love everyone, make me pure. You are asking from God. So you are talking to God. Prayer is talking to God. And contemplation, nididhyasana, is listening. Prayer is talking, contemplation is listening. When we try to sit and meditate, quieten the mind, we try to listen our own inner voice and try to go deeper and listen more clearly. When we are trained to this listening, everything starts talking. Everything. Shakespeare said, and this our life, exempt from public haunt, finds tongues in trees, books in the running brooks, sermon in the stones, and good in everything. That is spirituality. When we have become spiritual, we start listening everyone. Trees seem to be very happy, the rivers are running well, birds are flying happy. And this happiness that is in us, I try to see that happiness everywhere. We see the world, in fact, they say, is the reflection of our own mind. If you are happy, you see everything happy. If you are sad, you see everything bad, sad, suffering like that. So, you have to find yourself that joy and peace within. And that peace within you find, then you can find that peace outside. Wherever that peace is not available outside, by coming in your touch, talking to you, listening to you, your listening of him or her will give peace instead. That I gave the example of Swami Ranganathanandaji. You see, that's how, if we are peaceful, you start, everything you see living. Trees start having tongue, and stone have some sermon, they are speaking, talking, the crying stone, that some say. Stones just speak out. They have 10 commandments written on the stone. He had become pure. He was in a very exalted state, Moses. And he found 10 messages that coming from. And literally, it was there, they say. But rationally, you can say, if it was not there in particular language, of course he could find the messages coming from stones. It is very true. When we become really that peaceful in that level, everything speaks good for us. He was searching how to lead his people towards good conduct. And he found this message. And it came from the stone. And rivers, they can talk. Falls, they can talk. How there was one Swami, I say, used to go one day, he used to go in the morning in the Himalayas and go to a falls. And whole day he will look at the falls, and evening he will come back saying, "Oh Lord, you have created so nice." What did he do whole day? He had to communicate with the falls. He had to listen something, talk something. Otherwise, how he passes the whole day, day after day, week after week. There was communication with that wonderful falls, and he saw all divinity emanating from that falls. All goodness coming from the falls. Falls that waters were talking to him. He was listening to falls, he was talking to falls, and that's why he could do this day after day. And that happens when we are really filled with that goodness. There is a story of Satyakama Jabala. It's in the Chandogya Upanishad, one of the Vedas, one of the Upanishads of the Vedas. So there was a boy called Satyakama. His mother was Jabala. So one day the boy thought, I have to go and have the knowledge of God. I want to learn about the Shruti. So I have to go to the teacher. She asks his mother, "Mother, what is my caste and what is my father's name? What is my family name?" So mother said, "I was a poor woman, maid servant. So I really can't say," she was not married, "I really can't say who is your father, but you are Satyakama, I am Jabala, so you are Satyakama Jabala, Jabala's son Jabala. So go and said to the teacher." He went to the teacher, according to custom prevalent at that time, the teacher asked, "What is your name and what is your caste and who is your father?" He said, "My name is Satyakama, my mother worked in many places, she didn't know who is my father, and she said her name is Satyakama, her name is Jabala, and that's why she said, your name is Satyakama Jabala. I know that much." Teacher said, "You are fit to study the Vedas, because you are truthful. No one else could say this damaging truth about himself and about his mother. Mother is so truthful, you are so truthful, you are fit to learn. You are a Brahmana, fit to learn the Vedas, truthfulness." He was convinced, whatever is past, he just broke the rules of that prevalent in the society and went to the qualities. Who speaks the truth is the Brahmana. What is the caste distinction in Hinduism later on were defaulted, were actually deformed by by generation, but they were according to the qualities of the person. Qualities of the person. So then this teacher said, I want right now teach you the scriptures. You do one thing. You take this 400 weak and thin cattle, cows and bulls, and take them to the forest and serve them, make them strong and make them grow in number. When they become 1,000, come back to me. So this Satyakama young boy, he took all these 400 cattle to the forest away from his Guru's place. Guru ordered that. It was a service to Guru, a great thing. Today the Guru Astakam was being said. When one has that devotion to Guru, whatever Guru says is for my spiritual good, for my ultimate good. With that faith, he had gone to the Guru. Guru said, instead of now learning the scripture, you go and tend this cattle. He went there and he started serving. Months rolled into years. He doesn't have any other thought. He wants to serve them, make them moves from one place to other place where there were green grasses, green pastures. And then one day suddenly after a few years, he listens, Satyakama, he looks, one bull was speaking in human voice and says, Satyakama, we are 1,000. Take us to your master, your teacher. Take us back to your teacher. Satyakama was not surprised. He said, yes, O Lord. Then the bull said, I will teach you something about the Brahman. You have come to know about God, I will say something about God, about Brahman. Then he said, the East is a part of that supreme reality called Brahman. The West is a part of that reality. The South is a part of that reality, and so likewise the North is a part of that reality. This much of lesson from me today. Tomorrow you will have more lesson from fire. Fire will speak to him. You see how he was listening. He didn't say, oh, what bull you will speak. He said, bull was speaking. He was become so pure through the service to Guru by tending the cows. Everything was to him could give knowledge. So knowledge started from the mouth of a bull. Next day, in the evening, he was walking back in the evening, he lit fire to do oblations, and the fire spoke, Satyakama, I will teach you more about the Brahman, the ultimate reality. The earth is Brahman, so is the sky, so the heaven, and so is the ocean. All these are the parts of the Brahman. First the cardinal points, then the higher regions, heaven, sky, those are all part of that great ultimate reality. Then he said, this is also not complete. Tomorrow one bird will come and teach you about Brahman. So next day in the evening one swan comes and says, Satyakama, I have some teaching for you about the Brahman. So he said, Lord, please speak. Then the bird said, the earth is Brahman. The sky is Brahman. The heaven is Brahman. And the ocean is Brahman. The swan said the fire is Brahman. She said about the luminous thing. The fire is Brahman. The sky at first said that the fire. The swan said the fire is Brahman. The sun is Brahman. The moon is Brahman. The lightning is Brahman. Whatever is full of light, luminosity, that is the quality of Brahman. These are all part of the Brahman. He said tomorrow another being will come. Another bird will come and that will teach you more about the Brahman. He's all listening to the words of these people, you see, who are not human beings even. And next day, one water bird came. Sanskrit name is Madhu. And Madhu said, breath is Brahman, part of the Brahman. Sight is part of the Brahman. Hearing is part of the Brahman. Thinking is a part of the Brahman. What you perceive and do through your senses, that are the acts of Brahman. Because Brahman is there, because the divinity is there, that's why they all are acting, and consider them to all a part of the Brahman. You see how the idea of Brahman as totality is being put into the understanding of this student. Now that person comes back to teacher with 1,000 cattle. Teacher looks at him. As I said, face speaks. Teacher says, Satyakama, your face shines like a man of knowledge, man of wisdom. You have already achieved the knowledge of reality. Your face shines, the student, without learning, without any teaching. The student said, Lord, it might be there. I heard from teachers other than human beings. But it is said, unless you listen from a human teacher, your knowledge will not be complete. You have to listen from your human guru. The God is the ultimate guru. But that God's power comes through human beings. So you have to listen from him. And then teacher taught him more and he became a knower of Brahman, a God-realized person. Seeing God in everything, understanding everything. How did he have that? Through the power of listening. Swami Vivekananda had that. When he went out of thoughts in the West, giving lectures, 1 lecture, 2 lectures, 3 lectures, sometimes 3 lectures a day, and all on original thoughts, you see. He had to give lectures, and sometimes he used to be out of ideas, what to speak next. Then he sat and he started listening. All thoughts started coming. And he said it was all my guru who used to speak to me, what to talk. It was Sri Ramakrishna who used to talking to him. Just he made his heart open. One day in Dakshineshwar, one dog, Sri Ramakrishna was walking and he saw one dog coming towards him. Then he says to the person, wait, perhaps God wants to speak to me. God? Say, yes, this dog is coming. I think God wants to speak to me through this dog. He said, God will speak through dog? He said, yes. You don't know how God speaks. God can speak through anyone, through dog. And they can understand the language of when they speak, they see message, it comes to them. That's why the idol which was stone to other people, for Sri Ramakrishna was a living God, the Dakshineshwar Kali. He used to go and have conversation, have talks. Should I learn from this teacher who has want to teach me the Advaita Vedanta, non-dual Vedanta? Then Divine Mother said, yes, go and learn. For this purpose, I have brought him here to you. Teacher coming to the student. Always student have to go to the teacher. In Sri Ramakrishna's case, all teachers came to the student. So, like this communication, when Totapuri heard this, he was surprised. How can there be a stone image can say? For Totapuri, it was a stone image because he didn't believe in anything of the Maya. But for Sri Ramakrishna, it was God. And she could talk, she listened. And there are so many instances in Gospel, you'll find anything happens. Once Narendranath said, oh, what you see are all hallucinations. These are not true. Then he ran to Mother Kali, to the temple. And said, Mother, you just deceived me. These are all hallucinations right here. Well, Narendra is saying that. Then he listens, Mother saying, hears that Mother is saying, who said that? What Narendra knows? He is a mere child, mere boy. If these are untrue, then how they come to become true in a life? If you see someone is coming today, if you find in a vision, how that person really comes? So how does it tally in your daily behavior, what you hear? So this is not hallucination, that is true. Then he comes to Narendranath and says, you told me and confused me, I have not listened to you after that. So like that things, you see this God speaking through the idol. That's how the listening comes and God starts revealing through everything. Really tree speaks, surrounding brook speaks, flower speaks, grass speaks, everything speaks and all speaks about what you need. Guru comes and speaks when you are empty of your idea, finished, new ideas come. Similar happened to Swami Vivekananda, how he spoke, how he listened, you see. When he was in Kheer Bhavani, there was a temple of Divine Mother, which was vandalized by some people, some antisocial. And for many years it happened. Some non-sympathetic people, they had broken that. And seeing that, Swami Vivekananda felt very remorse and very sad. And he said, people came and they broke this temple and broke the idol, and the followers of religion did nothing to protect. If I was here, I would protect this temple. I would not let it till the last drop of my blood. I would fight and protect this temple. He was so sad seeing that temple was broken. Many years, of course, the temple was broken, many 100 years perhaps. Then he listens, my child, do you protect me or do I protect you? Now, you want to protect me? Listen, everything in this world happens by my will. Until I will, nothing will happen. By my will, this temple was vandalized and broken. If I will, this very moment, I can make 7-story temple at this place. So everything in this world happens by my will. He just listened, Mother speaking, Divine Mother, God speaking to him. He listened that, Swami Vivekananda came. He told this story to one of his students, one of his disciple. He said, Swamiji, perhaps it was your mind that was speaking, because you told everything is in our mind and it's mind that speaks. He said, for you, explanation may be like that, but how can I disbelieve my own experience of someone speaking into my ears? And I could hear, I could listen these. It's nothing about my mind, not thought. It is a thought becoming sound. It's someone else speaking to my ears. This listening of Swami Vivekananda completely changed his life. He became totally surrendered to the will of God. Doing big works were gone. Being a spiritual leader was gone. He became just a child of Mother. That's how listening can come from God when we are open, we are pure. That can happen. When this type of thing comes, when you become so pure and God-loving, then everything starts speaking to us. Everything becomes sweet to us. That's why this prayer, when the prayer said, Madhubata ritayate madhuksharanti sindhava, everything like this, very air becomes so sweet. Nothing becomes bad. Air with minus 35 cold wind blowing, it is also good. I have heard people here, in my opinion, they are not God realized. Maybe they got realized, I don't know. This was Sangvedya. Some person saying, Swami, I enjoy when there is storm. I come from school, she was a teacher. Come back from school to home, I don't come by car. While going, my husband drops. While coming, I walk. I prefer to walk. And this difficult situation, storm, cold air coming, I enjoy that. She said with all her feeling and truthfulness. So there can come a time when you don't really can accept everything. And air becomes so for him. Blowing air becomes sweet. Everything is sweet for him. Waters become sweet. Then the osadi, the annual herbs become sweet. Then day and night, everything that person is always living in peace and joy. Who has become pure in heart and has connected and communicated with God. The air, very day and night becomes sweet. Everything is sweet for that person. Even the dust of the earth, he finds sweetness in dust of the earth. Everything gives message, everything he listens, everything communicates, everything becomes living. When Sri Ramakrishna said that all is God, Narendranath, young Vivekananda, he said, how can everything be God? This wind seal is God, this worship article, these pots are God, this jug is God. How can that be? These are different things. God is consciousness. These are insentient beings. Sri Ramakrishna said, everything is conscious. Just you have to have the feeling, you have to have that understanding. And Narendranath had that understanding. When he was coming from home, one day suddenly he finds everything is filled with consciousness. Everything is living. There is no distinction between living and non-living. The whole world becomes like living. And it becomes one with him, like that feeling. And in that feeling, the dust of the earth, they become sweet and holy. And heaven becomes holy. The trees become holy. And from sun becomes sweet and holy. And the whole earth becomes so sweet and holy. So when we practice listening and trying to listen to the human beings with sympathy and love, Then slowly will come, we evolve and trying to listen the nature. The trees, plants, air, sun, falls, rivers, everything we start listening to them, and from them comes the voice of God. And then we are always connected with God. And in that situation, we find everything sweet, peaceful, joyful, and then you live in bliss. Then you say, everything is Ananda, Ananda, Ananda.